One of the things I wanted to talk about today was Vespertine. I actually finished it, I don't know, I guess 2 days ago. So I bought all of Margaret Rogerson's books from Amazon the other day. I had read An Enchantment of Ravens from Barnes & Noble. I had read Sorcery of Thorns on ebook, and because Secrets of Thorn Manor was coming out, which is basically the sequel, like a little novella to Sorcery of Thorns, I decided that I ought to read Vespertine, because I've really enjoyed her other books. I've really enjoyed her style of writing, her style of fantasy and world building that isn't, it's more soft world building, I feel like, maybe would be the term for it. But anyway, I'm definitely going to tell you guys my thoughts on Vespertine, and maybe some spoilers, but I'll make sure to warn you before we get there. So, Vespertine, I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's probably more of a 4.5 because there were a couple things that I wish she had done more with. But overall, this story is about a girl who is technically an orphan. She was possessed by a creature called an Ashgrim from birth. And so she's basically been fighting off possession by a spirit since she was a baby. And it caused her to act in, obviously, possessed ways. And so she, as a child, had dealt with attacking her family, just not being able to stop herself from doing these cruel acts, to the point to where her family had locked her in a shed in order to keep their other child safe. And so when we come into the story, we kind of get that pretty early on in the first chapter. And she is trying to save another girl in the school who she has seen or realizes has fallen down into a passageway that's been opened up because it's been raining a lot. And so this old construction is kind of opened up to a older part of the church that she is in. So she was an orphan. She was found by the sisters and brought to this convent. It's not really a convent. I don't know what you'd call it. Basically, just like they call them the Grey Sisters. And so there are these people who have the sight, and those are people that could be possessed. So it's really uncommon, obviously, main character syndrome. It's really uncommon to be possessed at such an early age, yet she is. And so that's obviously why she's our main character. She's a little special, but it doesn't give you just a horrible main character like Mary Sue vibes. She does feel more realistic than some characters that I have read before. So she has scars from her time in possession. She has trauma that doesn't just go away because someone smiles at her. There's actually no romantic plot line in this, which is just chef kiss, because it really is about her and her trauma and her coming to terms with herself and relationships with other people, and not hurting herself as a form of keeping herself safe. And when I say hurting herself, I mean denying herself any sort of friendship, and expecting the worst out of people, and really judging people in the worst way rather than giving anyone the benefit of the doubt. So the first chapter is all about us finding out about her past, finding out that she was from a small town. They really didn't know about spirits there, or that possession was the thing. She gets found. She comes to this Grey Sisters covenant, basically, and we're kind of introduced to the concept of relics, which are jewelry items or accessories that hold the spirits of the dead. And there are 5 orders of these spirits, 5 being the most powerful and most dangerous, and one's being the least dangerous and also the least aware, the least intelligent of the spirits. They're not quite there. They can't really speak. They're more childlike. And so, all in all, our main character, it comes to sort of a climax whenever, I'm trying not to give any spoilers, whenever she is tasked with taking on a 5th relic, a 5th order relic, which is obviously like the most difficult to control. And the author kind of pitched this book as Venom meets fantasy. So if you're not familiar with Venom from, I believe it's Marvel, he's kind of like this parasitic creature that latches on to, I can't even remember the guy's name, but latches onto a character, and they sort of have this back and forth internal conversation that only really they hear. And that's sort of how this book is. They call this thing a revenant, which is just kind of like a big fancy name for it. And so it has its own personality, and it's kind of fun seeing it interact with our main character, who I've not even said her name. So they call her Vespertine, and you figure that out later on, and it kind of has some meaning. But her name is Artemisia, or I called her Artemisia. Artemisia. Artemisia? I don't know. Sounds pretty. But she is really a grumpy character, and I think that's why I like her so much. She is, when she says she's not like other girls, like, she means it. Like, she's weird, she's awkward, she's grumpy, she wants people to think that she's like evil because some of the students suspect that like she's still possessed, and so she's just not. She's obviously been raised like a savage wild animal, and so some of that comes across in her personality, but it's really charming, I think. She's a really fun character. If you enjoyed characters like, Malia Tate from Teen Wolf, you know, was a coyote, becomes a girl, has to interact in a society that she has not been in for a very long time. It has those vibes. Also on the cover, I didn't really mention it, but there is like a white raven, and his name is Trouble, and it's so funny because they're like, here comes trouble, and like that pun, it's like so bad, but it's so funny to me. And the raven didn't really have a very important part in the story. I thought it would have more of an important part. But it's just kind of there. It's its own character. There is another character that comes in later, and I won't spoil that, but he is sort of like Artemisia in the fact that he has the sight. He's young, about her age, and it really goes from being a book about like this girl being in her church that's been attacked, to being on the road, to having to learn to trust like what she really feels like is an evil entity, and maybe a little bit evil, to being seen as a savior when that is the last thing she wants. And it touches on really interesting topics, like she refers to Joan of Arc quite a bit because the author took a lot of inspiration from that character. And the most interesting thing about it is the way that Artemisia will refer to herself, and she will say things like, there's a Saint Julian who was the very first like saint that could handle this revenant. And she just mentions like people are calling her a saint, and at one point they're selling items and they swear like it's been touched by Artemisia, and you know, it's holy and it will give them good fortune. And Artemisia is seeing this happen, and they don't recognize her for reasons I won't get into. And she just keeps thinking, is this what it was like? We've worshipped this person as such a strong female and strong heroine who saved us, but was she even that beautiful? Was she even that brave? Was she even that, happy? Like, in all of the statues she sees of this person, she seems so serene and so happy and so in control. And at one point she asked the Revenant, is that what St. Julian looks like? And he was like, it looks nothing like her. And so it just really touches upon some things that most books don't, about like female, I don't know, just that internal, she doesn't want to be a hero. She's considered a hero. People are making her out to be this thing that she is not. Like, she is a grumpy, dirty, mean little girl that's trying to like save the world. And they're like, she's beautiful, she's this, she's that. And so what people believe of her and of the St. Julian is so at odds with like what she really is. And I really like that message, because as a reader, if you really look around, you see that the judgment or the way that people see things in their mind's eye is so not really the reality of the situation. And she goes through that herself. One of the turns in the story, I guess, which you could probably see coming, but at the same time, you never know with this story what they're going to bring up, is that Artizima herself is pretty terrible at like judging people and not taking into consideration like they might have other motives. They may not be what she perceives them to be. And so it's really neat. We do see her grow throughout the story and kind of become a more mature character. Another thing that's really great about this is Artizima is like 20, maybe like 18, 19, 20. So she isn't a teen. I mean, technically she is, but like she's not like a high schooler, which I appreciated. And this reads a little on the younger side in terms of like it reads fast, it reads easy. But this felt more like new adult than some of the new adult that I read. Obviously there was no like romance or sexual content or anything like that. But it did touch upon trauma. It touched upon healing. It touched upon friendships and relationships and death and losing loved ones and like sacrificing for the greater good. And there was just a lot of things that I really appreciated about it. I didn't think that I would appreciate there not being romance, because I enjoy romance. And so I really thought, judging from her other books, that there would be a main character love interest in here. And I kind of thought it was going to be the Revenant, just because we only had so many main characters, and I didn't think it was going to be a crow. But they really steered away from that. And I think it made the story stronger, because there wasn't a love in there. It was really more of a friendship, and that was like the strongest part of the story, was the friendships that were made. And they weren't like goofy friendships, like, haha, we're gonna be friends now, even though we've hated each other for 24 years. It was really, we've had these issues, we've worked through these issues, we're still gonna have some of these issues, but we see each other differently because now we are older and we can speak and we can come to terms and have these honest conversations. So now that I've pitched this book in a way that no one will want to read it, let me pitch it in a way that is hopefully a way you'll want to read it. Recently freed from possession girl has the sight, is able to see spirits, ends up being connected with a Revenant, which is the highest spirit in this world. And after a horrific attack on her church, she is taken away, captured by an enemy, and is being taken to the big city where the divine is. And basically I think she's going to be taken there to be judged. And along the way, she has to trust people she normally wouldn't trust, be friends with people she normally wouldn't be friends with, and overcome a lot of her trauma that she has ignored for so many years. So, yeah. enjoy. Okay, it's a really good book. I would give it 4.5 out of 5, 5 out of 5. There is some things to be wanted from the story. I really think we could have had a sequel or more world building. Because while it was all great, I am so hungry for more of this world. I feel like we did not get enough. Just enough to make you want more. So enjoy. Let me know if you liked it. I would say the reading range for this would definitely be like probably 14 and older. I'm not sure what she would market this towards. Just because of the possession and the trauma and some triggers of self-harm in ways that aren't necessarily, like, she's not harming herself for like trauma reasons, but it's one of the ways that she can keep herself in control is by how monks used to maybe use pain to keep themselves in control of their facilities. So basically, it's there. It's not really self-harm, but it could be triggering. So I would definitely say like 14 and older. Really good though. Okay, bye.